This Todd-versation is brought to you in part by Produce Careers with promotional consideration from Calavo Growers and Volcano Produce.
Hi, everybody. How are you today? What a great day today is. Not even sure if you're having a great day, but I hope you're having a great day. I always have a great day. That's how you start your day, thinking that way, and it does lead to good things. I am super stoked you're here hanging out with us today. I have a friend of mine that is here today that's going to share some bits of wisdom and share with us a little bit about what's going on with her. She's an icon. She's Jan DeLyser, guys. I don't know what else to say. She is now going to become the new CEO of all cool things to come in her life. Please, everybody, put your hands together and welcome to Todd-versations, Jan DeLyser. Welcome.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you very, very much.
It's an honor to have you here. It's an honor to have you here. This is a very special time. You are making some big changes in this world and making some big changes for you and your family. And quite frankly, some big changes in this industry, because you're just going to go buy produce and make it at home. You ain't going to be thinking about it quite so hard anymore. I know that for a fact. So I couldn't think of a better thing than to have you come join me today and talk a little bit about life and what's going on and what you've learned and give some wisdom back, because of all the people I know, you are one that thrives in giving back and thrives in mentoring and thrives in being above and beyond just yourself. And you give to so many people. And I thought, this is a good way of doing it. Let's get this thing out there to the 61 countries that are listening here and there with what we're doing. Let's share with the world what you got to go on. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to shut the hell up and let's get you talking. Tell everybody a little bit, just real quick, your bio, and then, what are the retirement plans? Let's throw that in there too.
So let's start with the retirement plans.
Hell yeah.
I'm really looking forward to getting some additional time with my two girls. I've got two daughters. I've got two grandkids. So up in Portland. So we've got a daughter in Santa Barbara and a daughter in Portland. And then the two grandkids. So we'll spend a little time with them. We're looking to possibly sell our Diamond Bar home and move out to the desert for the winter time. And then we have got a place through the family up in, it's called Spread Eagle, Wisconsin. So it's in the Upper Peninsula, just real close to Iron Mountain. So hope to spend the summers up there. As far as the bio goes for me, I started out with the Packer those many years ago. It's been 47 years I've been in this industry, which is pretty amazing. So I started in January of 76. From the Packer, I went to the Fresh Produce Council, then Fresh Produce Council, which has since become the Fresh Produce and Floral Council, went in as a PR person and then became head of staff. For about 13 and a half years, I did that, and then went to work for Sunworld, David Margulis and his family. Yeah. And they were starting a merchandising force, and they wanted someone strong in the Southwest to represent them. And it was at a time of my life where I had to make a decision. Was I going to get in the game, or was I going to stay with the association? And so I chose to get in the game. And so I took the job with Sunworld, went to work for them for a couple of years, and then worked for DeLyser at Westlake Produce, which is still in existence. Yeah. And worked for them for about 4 years, 3.5 or 4 years, and then got the position with the California Avocado Commission. Robert Verloop hired me, and then he left shortly thereafter, maybe a year or so later, and got his position, and then was promoted to vice president of marketing, and the rest is history, as they say. And here you are hanging out with me. Yeah. I love it. Can't think of anything better. Oh, I appreciate that. Well, as I said, I'm excited that you're here, and this show is going to be a little different than other ones, because normally, that I put a lot of energy into writing shows, and I research my topics, and I try to learn a little bit about something and find what interests me. And I thought I would do something for this show that is different for us, but yet in the same vein. So I've reached out to a few of our mutual friends and have asked them to help me produce and write this show. So Jan has no idea what's coming right now, other than the fact that I got her in the hot seat and she's here. So I'm going to share with you a little bit, and you've got some idea what we're going to talk about today, but I'm going to frame things up a little bit. So bear with me, folks. I'm going to do a little reading and we're going to do a little chatting, but I'm looking forward to Jan sharing with you, I think, what makes her so much different than so many people. And that's her heart and her ability to give back and her ability to share with people love and inspiration in so many different ways. So I thought, what fitting way to do it? Let's go, girl. You ready? You have no choice. I have you roped into this. You're screwed. You're here. Yeah, here we go. So here's a few things I'd like to share about Jan. When Jan was the executive vice president of the FPC, which was back then was the Fresh Produce Council, not FPFC,
I was a president. So the first time ever, there were 2 women in leadership. We actually spoke by phone every day. This was before Zoom, cell phones, texting, etc. Fortunately, my office was on 20th Street and her office was on 7th Street. Now, back in my day in LA, I was on 6th Street. So I can totally relate to the back then, I'm going to call it the ghetto that was all about there. So sometimes she would just stop by. Every day we had so much fun creating new ideas for the FPC. Together, we actually conceived the first regional produce trade show, and we called it Fresh and Fit, the predecessor of today's FPFC Expo. We became such great friends, and when she gave me a baby shower and I was pregnant with my daughter, Alex, in 1989, that was a true friend, Karen Caplan from Fritos.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, how cool is that, right? So let's talk about my first round of questions based upon what Karen just shared with us. Talk to me a little bit about how the role of women have changed during your tenure in this industry.
I can remember going to events, FPC events and other events, and you could count the number of women in the audience. You never had to wait to use the restroom. Now you go to an IFPA meeting and the women's restroom is much busier than the men's restroom. So there's been a lot of additions of women, not only, workers, but in the C-suite. I think it's been good to see that. There's no doubt that women are good for business, and we've seen that in so many different ways. But I do think, the biggest thing that I've seen change is just simply the numbers and the quality. There's really good quality women in the business. And, I think every successful woman will tell you that they've had both men and women mentors. And I do think that's really important to include the men in this discussion, because there's no doubt, we're in a male dominated industry, so to speak. And so it's very important to learn what works and then to tweak that so that you can make yourself a better person.
100%. Being almost the exact same tenure of time as you, I've seen that transition myself. And I got to be honest with you, in reflecting back, and I think it's interesting because we're in a perspective where that our wisdom looking backwards is just as powerful as our wisdom taking us forward in a lot of ways. And when I think about early on, and to your point, that there was no real women in this industry, and to watch this transformation during my tenure of time, as you have, it's incredibly impactful, the changes that women have brought to this industry. It's a better industry for it by far. And some of these young emerging leaders that I have the good fortune of chatting with or knowing impress the hell out of me about what's going forward. It's very, very impressive.
It's amazing to see the next generation coming up, because they are solid. I mean, I've had the pleasure of working with the Center for Growing Talent, which is now part of IFPA, and their Emerging Leaders program. And it is just amazing to see the quality, both male and female, but the quality and the numbers of women that are taking advantage of these opportunities. It's really great.
Yeah, 100%. Let me ask you, thinking about it, what advice would you give a young woman today? I mean, something maybe you wish you were given when you were just starting out.
I think the ability to listen is really important. It's so important, because if you constantly are responding and not listening, and I know you had that later, you've got a quote that you were going to ask me about later, but I think a person has a lot to gain from listening to everyone around them, and then you make decisions and you take actions based on all that you've learned. But if you are constantly responding and not listening, you're not really taking advantage of the opportunities that are out there.
Thanks for joining the Todd-versation. And now, a word from our sponsor. At Produce Careers, we are in the people business. Thanks for listening to Todd-versations. As your trusted executive search firm for the fresh produce, food processing, and agribusiness industries, we focus on outcomes. With over 80 years of combined industry expertise, with our global networks, we have the tools and the skills to identify top talent for your organization's strategic hiring needs. Our relationship-driven approach and proven recruitment process deliver the right candidates at the right time. At Produce Careers, we know each hire is an investment. Whether you're looking for the perfect candidate or searching for your next challenge, call or email us today and let us partner with you.
I think that's great advice. I mean, we are going to talk about it a little bit, but it's so important that we do learn to listen. Yeah. I literally said this, the quote that I have for you, we're going to talk about later, is I literally said this to somebody this morning. It's important to listen to understand, not always to reply.
Yes.
And, it's incredibly important that while everybody's ideas are important, other ideas may make yours even more important if you take the time to listen to it. And I think that's really about being a part of a team, about being part of a culture that is so impactful. So when I think about that question, young advice today is be present and listen and be a part of it. I think that's really, really sound advice. I love that. All right, you ready for the next? Here we go.
I'm ready for the next.
I got another one for you here. I got another one in this stack. Yeah, you're going to be pissed at me at the end of this. I know, but I'm all right. I'll get over it.
I'm going to get back at you, Todd.
That's okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. Goes, hey, Todd, sure. Here's a few words. I've had the pleasure of knowing and working with Jan from early days at Sunworld. I've also had the distinct pleasure of serving on both the United Fresh board and the PMA board. I have fond memories of serving as co-chair with Jan during the United Fresh Convention in Chicago in the early 2000s, where we successfully turned out a great trade show, a record crowd due to Jan's zest, creativity, and enthusiasm. Jan's service and commitment to the produce industry is unparalleled. I think everybody would write that. She has always been able to get behind a worthy cause. While she is well decorated and possesses many awards and accomplishments, she has never strived to be in the limelight. I've always appreciated how Jan has advocated for the consumption of California avocados through her channels and facilitated annual promotions to meet our customer needs. A fun fact, you will never see Jan without a huge warm smile on her face. Congratulations, Jan. Any guess who this is?
Is it Frank?
Frankie P. Frank Padilla from Costco. Frankie P. in the house.
That's awesome. Thank you, Frank, for those very kind words. That's awesome.
So here's some questions based around what Frankie threw at us, right? Got to do a little Frankie P love right now. So what has serving others through the produce industry taught you?
Yeah, I mentioned it. I think serving the FPC as a staff member definitely taught me to lead from behind. And in other words, you want the volunteers to always look good. You want to help them do the best job that they can. There were all different kinds of leaders that I got to work with. There were leaders who came in pretty smooth. Karen Caplan, she was a smooth leader. She knew how to work with people and make things happen. There were others that needed to learn. Maybe the opportunity to speak wasn't something that they were strong at, so you had the opportunity to help people be better people, basically. But I do think that ability to lead from behind, Frankie mentioned just, never taking the credit for what happens. You want to be a stellar advocate for the industry. You want to make things happen, but you want to do it in a quiet fashion. You don't need to draw attention to yourself.
Right. Well, that's, again, I love that expression, leading from behind. Right. Yeah. I think it's also a tribute to almost like a servant's heart, right? You serve above and beyond, which I think is incredibly powerful. So, when you think about this, and we're talking about young leaders earlier a little bit, I'm going to keep on that vein a little bit, because I think it's important that folks take a moment, especially the up and coming generation, and ask what they're doing, what they're doing, what more can they do? How can they serve? So why is it important for young industry folks to give back by serving, in our industry?
It's interesting, because when you read about the younger generation, a lot of times you read that it's not a high priority to give back. And yet when I look within our industry and I look at the young people and their willingness to get involved and to really seize the opportunities to be better leaders, I feel really good about it. I mean, I join you in that confidence in the next generation. I think we're really well set up to meet the challenges that are facing our industry, because the young people are willing to give. Why is it important? I mean, mentoring and serving are such two-way streets. If you think about the opportunity to mentor a person, whether you are the mentor or the mentee, you are gaining something from that interaction with that person. And if the mentor is not learning from the mentee, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely a two-way street. I think leading, leadership is the same way. There's such an opportunity. I think about my experience in all the different organizations, whether it was the FPFC, whether it was United, whether it was PMA, whether it was a Produce for Better Health Foundation, all of them, the opportunity to sit around the table with other leaders in the industry and the people that I met and the opportunities to improve, just you can't, you can't put a price on that. I mean, there's no replacement for that. And I was lucky. I had people who saw the value in contributing or donating or volunteering. And so, always had that opportunity, which is really great because I think it would have been hard for me without it, so
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes too, people hear the word mentor or mentoring or even mentee, right? Whatever. And they get a little freaked out. It's like, oh, I don't, that seems like it's such a heavy lift. But if you really peel that word back, it just means being a friend.
Yeah.
That's really in its most simple terms. It's just extending yourself in friendship to somebody else that maybe isn't go to your same high school, didn't go to your same college, doesn't share the same activities and sports, whatever life is that makes you different. But that connectivity as a friend, that downstream, that reach out, that ability to lift somebody up and encourage them through your own wisdom and experiences is what a friend's all about. And I think it's a powerful tool.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear back from people that I've had the opportunity to mentor. And it's, I've just learned as much from them as they've learned from me, I know, but it's really cool to see and to hear someone thank you for giving them, it's just looking at things a little differently sometimes. It's like, you've got the ability, girl or guy, go do this. And that's been really fun for me to experience that.
I 100% agree. And I'm going to jump in with something here too. Another little fun fact I had sent to me. When I set my sights on joining the produce industry in LA after college, my first career interview was with Jan. She was running FPFC at the time, and Jan gave me words of encouragement and guidance that led to my first job at Frida's. I cherish our 40-year plus friendship. Any ideas?
Tonya Antle.
Tonya Antle, correct. Very much so. And what's somebody that, like you, that's trailblazed, that has done a lot of that has embraced people and ideas and concept and been open-minded to a lot. I mean, I go back with Tonya way back when there was no organic industry, and that runway was being built by us back in those days, trying to open those doors and get hung up on by everybody when they said we were crazy back then. Now they're like, aha, you're not crazy anymore, are you?
Yeah. Oh man, you guys made it happen. You definitely did. It's awesome to see. I've been asked a couple of times for people that I looked up to in the industry, and you've had three of the people that I would have cited. You've had quotes from, so thank you for that. But Frida Caplan was definitely, if you think about that, you just read last week that Karen and Jackie have agreed to make that deal with Legacy. And so, that's 61 years that company has been a family-owned business. And it's nice to see Alex get recognition and advancement in her position at that company. But Frida was a real solid mentor. She always reached out to me and always had time for me. And I just, I feel really fortunate to have had that friendship with her. Other people in the early days, like Barbara Robison. I don't know if you remember Barbara, but she worked at WGA for a while, and then she went to Sunkist, and she was there, and she was active on our board, as was Pat Carrot in the floral business, Poor Lamar Nursery. So those people were great. Sybil Henderson was a friend of Frida's and did all these little cookbooks and things, and just was really a cool person when I was a young girl coming up, and just always had time. Just always had time to listen and to give advice, and I was fortunate. I had good people to lead me through.
100%. And in talking a little bit more about mentoring and encouragement. And encouragement's a great word to throw in under mentor. Like you can take the word mentor out of a free shot. Just try encouragement, right? Because that's very relatable. We all need encouragement. We're all human beings. We all want the same thing. You know, we want to be fed. We want to be nourished. We want to be encouraged. I mean, it's just part of life. And so what I find really interesting is that when somebody like yourself is so invested in others and becomes such an uplifting spirit to a lot of people, your business flourishes in different directions that you have no idea is a byproduct of that effort. If that makes any sense. I'm not quite sure if that made sense, but I think it did. Because
it definitely
because
does.
You're up, you know, again, you're uplifting all these things. And so I think it's incredibly important that people need to invest in finding a mentor, as well as becoming a mentor. And again, invest in finding a business friend, invest in finding somebody that you can lean on and ask questions of, you know, I think it's a real powerful tool. Something I teach and preach is, you know, is creating corporate, you know, accountability partners to where you have somebody you can go to and say, this is what I'm dealing with today. I need somebody to talk to. Will you help me? Will you listen to me? I'm not asking to be judged. I'm not asking for anything. I'm asking for you to listen, give me some advice, maybe point me in a direction I'm not thinking, but it's incredibly important. I think it's just, we have to express that more in business today. I'm just curious your thoughts on that whole soapbox moment I threw at you.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, mentoring is really important. I think, you know, being an advocate for someone is also important.
Yeah.
You know, and so they're different, apparently. You know, like I have always thought, if I'm going to be a mentor, I'm going to advocate for that person. But it really, I've sat on some panels and had some discussion about that, and they are different. I mean, if you advocate for somebody, you are, when they're not in the room, you are representing them. And so it's, you know, it's really important to have both that advocacy and mentorship. And encouragement, as you said, Todd. I mean, I think that's really important to the future success of people.
Yeah, I do. I sign off every broadcast by telling people to go inspire somebody today. And I firmly believe a simple hello is a source of inspiration. And, you know, sometimes I think when we look at this business, we become so transactional, so focused on PO after PO after PO. I got to have shelf space. And once we get into that mode, we lose sight of those things that create that to be better, right? And I think, you know, I stress this all the time. It's like, if the PO is the biggest thing you're worried about, that'll be the last thing you're going to be dreading when you don't get any longer, as opposed to creating friendships and creating bonds and commonalities and trying to find that ground that unites the two of you in a common mission, which is to go sell X, Y, and Z. I just think we've lost some of that in some ways in the way that business is today, especially as we become more data centric, we become more computer centric. How do we find, you know, how do we find 3/4 of a second and 2 pennies, right? Which is dangerous because food is a category that I believe requires conversation and thoughtfulness, because we have the power. I mean, just a little fruit and vegetable industry, we have the power to change the health of this planet and this country like no other business. That's a big responsibility that we need to be talking about together and to build on. I firmly believe.
Yeah. That's really interesting because you know, if you think of all the work that IFPA is doing right now, and under the leadership of Kathy Burns, who's a dear friend, it's cool to see, you know, that the food can be a solution to so many of our concerns, and hopefully we're able to overpower some of the naysayers and get the positive word out there.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I got another question for you. I got to throw at you. This one's going to catch you. This one, you ain't going to see this one coming. I guarantee we're in Vegas right now. I can make fat cash on this question because you're not going to guess. You're not going to see this one coming. You ever tried pig's blood?
In Berlin. I did. I drank it. I drank it. So this is either going to be Kathy or Julie or Marty.
Well, it's Marty. So you already know. So here we go. It's a little bit for Marty Craner. I have this just classic pig's blood. I had to open with that one.
That is too funny.
But I love some of the things she wrote, and I want to come back around because it's so fitting for what we've been discussing and what we're, you know, and I think what my goal was when I was talking with you is like, how do we go inspire somebody from this conversation? How do we uplift people? How do we just stay true to who you are and what you've done and give a message out there that people can sit there and go, you know what? I am going to go do this today. I have been challenged inside to go do this today. So this is a little bit for Marty real quick. It's like all the support and resources over many years she's pulled together for the Walk of Hope and Team Produce. And I want to talk about that in a second, about charity giving and what it means. Jan has great collaborative skills and instrumental in bringing people together. That is for damn sure. Jan has mentored my guests over 100 people over the years. I bet you that number's light. If I was guessing, I bet that number's light. As you can guess, we've been friends for 40 years, supporting each other in this industry, raising kids while working and being involved in many industry organizations. She gets the power of giving back. That to me is powerful.
Yeah.
That's incredibly powerful. So going back to what we touched on a little bit earlier, I quoted this through this quote out there. I'm going to ask you again, what's a statement mean to you? It's important that people listen to understand and not always reply.
I mean, all I can say is yes. It's really important to listen and to learn and to understand. And you can be thinking of replies, but you don't always have to reply. I think to really be present and to listen is important. Marty Craner just is, she's an incredible friend. And she's my golf partner. We play golf on Sundays together and enjoy that a lot. And we have been friends for a lot of years. So it's good to see. I mean, your approach here is really appreciated. Thank you very much. But I think it's important to listen. And I mean, I said it before. I think the reasons it's important to listen is that's when you learn. You learn either your idea has merit, or maybe you can tweak your idea or whatever it is. But if you constantly reply and don't listen, you're just, you're going to come across as a blowhard, I guess, basically what it boils down to.
I don't disagree. I mean, you could take a look at things that are going on just with us as a country as a whole, right? We don't solve anything, right? We run to, here's our solution. Here's a solution. But all this stuff behind it's not been figured out. So it's like, great, everybody feels good for the moment. We created 15 other problems. And I think it's incredibly important that we start to incorporate listening into these conversations, because maybe something you say changes the way I feel, or maybe something I say changes the way you feel, or maybe something we both said puts in a place that neither one of us saw, that's the betterment for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's an incredible, I think we undervalue in some ways conversations and open-mindedness to even civil discourse in some ways, right? You can believe that, blue is the best color there ever was, and you can believe red's the best color, but it doesn't mean that you don't come together and go, God, but if you put a blue shirt, you do a blue and red stripe, that's good. That looks great.
I like that you're citing KU colors too, blue and red, crimson and blue.
I have to, you know what? It's funny because we just talked about the fact you were just watching some basketball, but nonetheless, I didn't do that on purpose. But now that I did, I'm going to take full credit for it.
Yeah.
So I because it's come up multiple times about charity work, I have to go there. And this is a call. I want you to bang the drum, call to action, get people to recognize what's out there to serve. If you wouldn't mind, talk about some of your charity work and push people into helping move that ball down the field for you.
Yeah, I mean, I consider any form of volunteerism in leadership is a good thing. Mm-hmm. I think the charity work, when you look at City of Hope and you look at even Produce for Better Health Foundation, in the day, there's a lot to be said for working with people and a common cause and making it happen. And so, the Walk for Hope that Marty talked about, it's incredible to see. I mean, she's got it so well orchestrated and so well constructed that it's an easy thing to get people to go and to volunteer and to donate product. And, the pandemic has been tough on some of the charities, but it's also allowed charities to raise money in other ways, right? Mm-hmm. So they got resourceful. Thank goodness golf tournaments have come back. There was a period of time where there wasn't any, and so that it was only about a year's, but it's all good. I think that the opportunity to give back is really important and something that we should all strive to do. And so find a charity that means a lot to you. Brighter Bites is one that is also very, very positive, very good. And, I've worked with them in LA, and I think Rich Stackman does a great job.
Awesome.
So I think that the opportunity to give, we all owe that to ourselves, really, to figure out what is important to us and then identify a charity or charities and go for it.
Thanks for joining the Todd-versation. And now, a word from our sponsor. At Produce Careers, we are in the people business. Thanks for listening to Todd-versations. As your trusted executive search firm for the fresh produce, food processing, and agribusiness industries, we focus on outcomes. With over 80 years of combined industry expertise, with our global networks, we have the tools and the skills to identify top talent for your organization's strategic hiring needs. Our relationship-driven approach and proven recruitment process deliver the right candidates at the right time. At Produce Careers, we know each hire is an investment. Whether you're looking for the perfect candidate or searching for your next challenge, call or email us today and let us partner with you.
Uh, 100%, and I'm thank you for that. And the reason I felt that was an important question to ask is as we're talking about source of inspiration and young people, this and that, we live in a world today where everything is in real time and you can get what you want when you want. And therefore I don't have to think about the things I don't want to think about anymore. And that's not winning the day for us. And that giving back, that uplifting, again, mentoring, friendship, it's all a part of charity as well. Right. And I think sometimes people say, oh, I'm giving to charity. It's as if they're doing something for somebody that is less than, as opposed to looking as an opportunity to do something for somebody that maybe you will never even know, but you have the direct opportunity to impact their life in a positive way. And I think that when you start to recognize that, just like mentoring, giving back as a friend to somebody, you will start to get fed back by that first action leads to a second action. And then all of a sudden, like a leap of faith, jumping out of a plane, that adrenaline, you start to get fed personally by those interactions. And I think that to me is something I want to throw out to the ethos of everybody that's listening. It's like, try it, right? Get addicted to it, right? It's a healthy thing to be addicted to. It's giving back to people, and it feeds you though. It constantly feeds you back.
It does. It's definitely a two-way street. I mean, it definitely does. You're right.
Yeah. Well, that would be my call to action for everybody, is to volunteer, get involved, and be a part of something. So what didn't we cover? What's next? What do you want to do? I'll let you have the floor here. What do you want to talk about? I don't know. I kind of probably stumped you a little bit, but
yeah, you definitely did. That was awesome. The quotes were great. I'm really looking forward to retirement. I think, I told the board that the last board meeting, which was in November, would be the end. And the timeline I've put is middle of February. So we're looking for a mid-February retirement. And I've got some other opportunities in the industry that I'm looking at. So we'll see what that brings. But, for now, I really want to get my arms around what's next. And we're going to go up and see our grandkids in April and talk to them yesterday. And, so we've got some plans. And then we've got to get out from under the house, so to speak,
Good. Lots of golf.
Yeah, lots of golf. I'm going to definitely do that. And, whatever I choose to do, if I do choose to do anything, it would be controlled. I'm not going to let it control me. I want to be the boss of myself, basically.
Girl power. Go, girl, go.
Yeah.
I love, you're an icon. You're one of, you'll have a statue in the hallway, of this industry. There's no two ways about it. I mean, you've done such an amazing lift, and you've done it with such grace and dignity, and you've taught people. And I love that about what Marty says about the hundreds of people that you mentored. You've taught people, you've given yourself, there's a little piece of you and a lot of people out there, and that's a powerful legacy. And I think that's far greater than selling a box of avocados. Yeah.
It's been one of the things. The announcement went out in the trades around the holidays, and it's been a little bit amazing to get the affirmations from people and the responses from people, and just the impact that I had on individuals is really, it's rewarding to see that. I me, I just was not aware that it was that way, but it's very rewarding to hear and to see. I'm very thankful.
Well, it's well deserved. Hey, let's be honest. we know some people are retired and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Which one do you want to be, right?
Yeah.
You're well deserved. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you uplifting my spirits and hanging out and just getting hugged. I mean, that's a big thing, right? That's a big thing. Yeah, I love it. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Todd. And thank
I'm
you for
glad
this
you're here.
time.
You kidding me? It's my honor to have you here. It's my honor. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Everybody, I hope we inspired you today. If we didn't, go get some CPR. I know what the hell to do for you. I don't. You know what? Hey, maybe you need one of these. Maybe you need to lean into a Bob Ross positive energy drink. I don't even know. But do something. Go out there, mentor, be involved. Call to action from Jan, call to action from me. It's how we win the day, is by working together with everybody. No matter what side of the fence somebody might be on, listen to what they have to say. Don't have to reply, but learn from them. Open your eyes, open your mind. Let's go make a better world. We can do it. And we have a lot of stuff that can make the world better, like what you all sell and work with every day can make the world better. Let's go for it. Thanks for being here. And thanks for listening. We'll see you on social media. Jan, we're playing golf. Let me know. I'm coming down.
Okay. You got it, bud.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. Thanks.